Hello and welcome to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Lily Lu, and these are the headlines we're tracking at the hour. Innovation capability. China authorizes more than 453,000 patents in the first half of the year and approves over 2 million trademarks registrations. Mixed signals as SK Hynix shares fell despite exponential Q2 earnings growth, heightening market concerns about slower AI spending by big tech firms. Extreme weather. Wildfires and heat waves continue to sweep through Europe, exposing cooling gaps in homes, cities, and supply chains. And let's take a quick look on Chinese mainland stock markets when we kick off the show, where we see key indices of the day closed higher today. The benchmark Shanghai Composite Index finished the day adding about 15 points, or about 0.4%. Tech shares continued their rally from earlier this week, adding about 1.5%, or standing at 3,378 points. We're going to take a look at details later on in the program. For now, here's a quick check on regional markets and how Wall Street closed overnight. Top story of the day, China's total logistics volume grew by more than 5% year-on-year in the first half of the year, outpacing the country's GDP growth. It was driven largely by rising demand for high-end manufactured goods and green energy products. Data from the Federation of Logistics and Purchasing shows that logistics demand across the new energy vehicle supply chain rose by 6% in the first half of the year. And in June alone, now that figure surged nearly 30% from a year earlier. On the consumer side, growth was fueled by telecom electronics and energy-efficient home appliances. On the industrial front, demand for semiconductor materials and lithium batteries was among the key drivers. China's National Intellectual Property Administration authorized more than 453,000 patents in the first half of the year and approved over 2 million trademark registrations. Officials say that the quality of patent filing has increased substantially. By the end of June, China's high-value invention patents had reached nearly 2.4 million, marking an improvement in China's innovation capability. In the meantime, the services sector accounts for nearly one-third of China's registered trademarks.
为落实好国家“15规划纲要”部署。
In the 15 five-year period that starts this year, we will adjust the patent rules to better nurture innovation in key economic sectors, supporting high-quality growth and high-level opening up of the country. We will focus on increasing the number of high-value invention patents, especially those related to artificial intelligence, big data, and other cutting-edge technologies. The patent rules should also help coordinate development between key economic zones such as the Greater Bay Area, the Yangtze River Delta, and the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region.
And now for more insights on China's patent protection, let's bring in He Jingjing, Associate Professor at the Institute of International Law at Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Ms. He, thank you so much for your time. So let's start with the patent registration numbers that China has made over the past 6 months. So what patent indicators in the first half of the year do you think directly reflect the improvement of China's innovation capacity?
Thank you very much for your question. I think the most important direct indicator is the steady growth of high-value invention patents. By the end of June, China held more than 2 million high-value invention patents, showing China's continued improvement of innovation capacity. It is not just about the increase in number, but also more importantly in quality, especially in the following two aspects are really worth noting. One is that there's a big increase in the technological innovation, the enterprises. So it takes a more important role in the total percentage of the patents. Secondly, we've seen more patents in the next generation information technologies, such as AI, cloud computing and big data, which shows the future. So I think it's quite clear that China has improved greatly in terms of innovation and IP.
So what core challenges will China face in advancing high standard intellectual property protection during the 15th five-year plan period?
That's a very good question. I think one big challenge is whether China's IP system, including the legal system and protection capacity, can keep pace with the technological innovation and industrial development. As discussed just now, in the new age, especially powered by AI and data, a lot of innovation are actually AI generated. So in the past, we built our IP protection system around the people, which means that all the innovation, all the ideas are from people. And now we've seen more and more AI generated products. So how about the ownership of AI generated products? Can we apply the same laws to protect the AI generated products? And also, how about the allocation of rights and responsibilities among developers, operators, and users? Those are new issues to be discussed. Another big challenge is actually with AI and with the models, especially open source models going broad, we've seen more and more requests for international collaboration, which I mean is that a lot of protection efforts need to be cross-border. A lot of infringements of the rights actually occur online and may involve multiple regions, platforms, or even jurisdictions. So it actually poses quite a big challenge for the law enforcement and also for the protection of IP. So these are big challenges we have to face in the new age.
How do you think will stringent IP protection help to stimulate corporate innovation vitality and help to accelerate industrial transformation and upgrading?
It's quite important to have very strict IP protection system. And I think it has to be also not about the laws, but also about the efforts from the whole society. Why it is important is because for innovation, it requires a lot of efforts, which means financially and in terms of human capital. So in order to encourage more and more enterprises and to put in great efforts to have innovation, we have to make sure that they have very stable expectation of return for being innovative. So strict IP protection system will ensure that all the efforts are worthwhile and we can see a very certain return for all their efforts. So in other words, strict IP protection is to give all the good companies, industry players, the good incentive to really make efforts to innovate rather than copy others. Another thing is, given the current international relations and also in the new AI age, we need innovation more than ever. So for China to become really a country which could compete on the global stage and also to empower and to benefit from the new age, I think we should spend more efforts in strengthening the IP protection efforts. And as I mentioned, it requires the society to work together, not only about laws, but also about the improvement of the awareness of the whole society, including school education. So I think it's really worthwhile for making sure that people will love to innovate and get benefits from being innovative.
Well, thank you so much. That's Professor He Jingjing from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences.
Thank you.
Time to round up some other business headlines from across China. China's C919 passenger jet's high-altitude variant has completed its first test flight in Shanghai. The variant has a shortened fuselage designed for high-altitude operations. In the meantime, China's Commerce Ministry has expressed a firm opposition to the U.S. Department of War's decision to add several Chinese academic institutions to its 1286 list. Names on the list are restricted in terms of trade and collaboration with U.S. entities. The ministry has also welcomed a new ruling by the World Trade Organization, which backs China's claims that Turkey's EV tariffs and licensing rules targeting Chinese automakers since 2023 violate global trade rules. China's Hainan Free Trade Port is doubling down on blue and low-carbon economy by leveraging its unique marine and geographical advantages. Hainan is forging a multi-model blue economy paradigm. It is grounded in clean energy transition linked by international green cooperation driven by port-related green industries. Sensha TV's reporter Ling Mo files this from Hainan.
Hainan is steadily advancing clean energy projects. The Datangdanzhou 1.2 gigawatt offshore wind farm is a key provincial demonstration project. It is expected to generate 3.66 billion kilowatt per hour of electricity annually upon completion. This would save 1.1 million tons of standard coal and reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 2.87 million tons each year.
By leveraging multi-energy complementarity to drive industrial integration, we have achieved a zero-carbon target for on-site office buildings. Moreover, we have built 3 agrivoltaic and aquavoltaic PV stations, creating a multi-energy complementary clean energy base that integrates solar, thermal, storage, and comprehensive energy solutions.
By the end of 2025, the province's total installed power capacity reached approximately 25 gigawatts. Clean energy accounted for 87%. Newly added capacity comes mainly from renewables such as wind and solar power. Hainan has essentially established a new power system dominated by clean energy. A robust domestic green energy foundation has laid a solid ground for Hainan's cross-border green cooperation. It has transformed the free trade port's ecological strengths into international collaborative advantages. This June, the ASEAN-China Environmental Cooperation Week 2026 was held in Hainan under the Green Cooperation Framework of the China-ASEAN FTA 3.0. Hainan proactively extended opportunities in green industries and the circular economy, steadily fostering tangible regional environmental partnerships.
We hope to expand cooperation in blue carbon, work with ASEAN countries on marine plastic pollution control, jointly carry out blue carbon restoration in coastal wetlands, explore cross-border carbon credit trading, and unlock the cooperative dividends of the marine ecosystem.
Hainan's port-related green shipping industry is also accelerating its upgrade. The core hub of the free trade port, Yangpu Port, aggregates key resources. These include shipping routes, vessels, and trade. Yangpu extends the port shipping industrial chain, continuously enhances international shipping services, and positions itself as a blue open gateway.
In the first quarter of this year, our bunkering vessel costs grew 8% year-on-year, effectively reducing fuel costs for ship owners. We will next push for policy pilots to launch biofuel blending operations, supporting the green transition of shipping.
According to Hainan's Marine Economy Development Plan, by 2030, the marine sector is expected to account for over 55% of the province's GDP. And by 2035, Hainan aims to become one of China's core hubs for deep-sea technology innovation, with the marine economy surpassing 50% of the province's total economic output. Lin Wo, Sansha Satellite TV in Hainan for CGTN.
Integrated urban-rural development is central to common prosperity and a key task for China's 15th five-year plan. During the EU inspection, Xi Jinping stressed leaving no one behind on the path to comprehensive prosperity. For over 2 decades, EU has pursued its goal by leveraging its markets to drive urban-rural integration and forge a viable pathway toward shared prosperity. In this 3rd episode of a special 3-part series, Global Business explores how EU made it happen.
In Yiwu's Daqin Second Village, well-arranged houses and contented villagers bear witness to a development model linking markets with rural industries. Since the 1980s, as Yiwu's small commodity market expanded, Daqin Second Village seized the opportunity to process shirts, taking market orders and producing locally. The business thrived, and the village led the city in rural renewal. On December 27, 2002, Xi Jinping made his first Yiwu inspection, with Daqin Second Village as his first stop.
Xi
Jinping affirmed our work and stressed the need to focus on low-income groups, help solve their practical problems, and leave no one behind on the road to comprehensive prosperity.
Leave no one behind. This was Xi Jinping's charge to Yiwu, and it also embodies his deeper reflection on development. At that time, Zhejiang's rapid growth masked widening urban-rural disparities. In June 2003, Zhejiang launched the 1,000 Villages demonstration, 10,000 Villages renovation project. Yiwu promptly responded by issuing an urban-rural integration action plan, allocating 200 million yuan annually from public funds to systematically renovate 800 administrative villages, with a strong focus on improving rural living environments, transportation, and other infrastructure.
At that time, fiscal policies were tilted towards rural areas, consolidating and strengthening the scale of administrative villages. Those with industries grew stronger. Those without first closed gaps, ensuring every village found its own development path.
Lizhu Village is a case in point. Once isolated and underdeveloped, it has become a startup village, known for rural charm and cultural depth.
We sit between the vast countryside and the small commodity market, a hub for creativity where good designs and ideas can be quickly realized.
On September 20th, 2023, Xi Jinping revisited Yiwu, starting with Lizhu Village. He encouraged the villagers, saying rural revitalization holds vast potential, and they should strive together toward a prosperous future. Today, Lizhu Village is home to more than 340 young entrepreneurs and over 100 innovative business ventures, attracting over 1 million visitors each year. It has also joined forces with neighboring villages to form the Greater Lizhu Common Prosperity Zone, establishing a jointly funded village company that shares both returns and risks.
We must keep Xi Jinping's instructions in mind and work with 8 neighboring villages as one team, one family to build the greater Lizhu area into a showcase where agriculture thrives, the countryside beautifies, and farmers grow wealthier.
In promoting the Yiwu development experience, Xi Jinping noted urban-rural coordination, using industry to nurture agriculture, commerce to strengthen farming, cities to drive villages, and mutual reinforcement is a key pillar of Yiwu's progress. Over the past 20 years, Yiwu has steadily closed the infrastructure and services gap between urban and rural areas. Yiwu remains committed to Xi Jinping's vision, using its markets to advance urban-rural integration, forging a proven path toward prosperity for all.
And still to come here on Global Business. Mixed signals. SK Hynix shares fall despite exponential Q2 earnings growth, heightening market concerns about slower AI spending by big tech firms.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
SK Hynix shares traded in Seoul closed 9.6% lower on Wednesday after the company reported earnings that fell short of investor expectations. The memory chip maker posted a record second quarter operating profit of 60 trillion won, or about $42 billion. That is more than 6-fold surge year on year. But the figure still missed Wall Street forecasts. Sentiment took a further hit over concerns that the company's growing dependence on long-term supply contracts could limit potential gains from rising memory chip prices, even as demand surges amid the AI boom. And for more analysis on SK Hynix shares, let's bring in Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer of Novin Market Technologies. Hi there, Jiahe. Good to see you again. So what insights can you draw from SK Hynix's latest blockbuster quarterly financial report?
Hi, Lily. Thank you for having me. Well, the latest financial statement of SK Hynix has been amazing. We can see a very rapid growth of both the income as well as the profit. And the company has locked a very large amount of long-term ordering, which will be converted into income and cash in the future if these orders are finally conducted. Notice here is a big if. Anyway, overall speaking, although there are expectations toward the future decreasing of its business, but the current financial statement still tells us a very promising financial status of SK Hynix, which we will also expect in other related companies such as Samsung and Micron. Furthermore, together with the rising profit, the capital structure of SK Hynix is also becoming more healthy. We can see the reserving of cash is increasing for the company, as well as the debt is slightly reducing. So for the company, this is not a bad financial statement at all.
So we're looking at actually strong earnings, weak stocks. I mean, that is not only happening with SK Hynix, Samsung as well. They're faced with continuous sell-offs despite sufficient orders for AI-focused HBM memory. How do you explain this paradox?
Yes, this paradox of strong earnings together with very weak stock performance is a very interesting and a typical phenomenon of stock market. That is, the market price will not only be determined by how good the current financial status is, but it will be more determined by the market expectation. The reason that the stock performance is really weak for these companies in recent trading days is because the market expected too much for them in the past. That means even though the companies have been performing very well with the recent financial statements, but the market says, okay, we have expected this and your prices have already been rising. Now you are having a very high valuation and we are worrying about your future. So the stock prices started to fall. If we look at the stock performance of South Korea's capital market in the past few months, we can see there has already been a very big bull market. Now as the global market is worrying about the continuous investment of AI in the long term, and the related companies are already trading at very expensive valuations calculated by the PB ratio. Therefore, the stock prices of these companies are starting to fall.
Do you think that this poor return of investment on corporate AI spending drag down long-term market demand for storage chips?
That is exactly what the market is worrying, that the demand for storage chips will not be as strong in the long term. There are a few reasons behind this reducing demand as the market is now worrying. First of all, the final application of AI is still limited. The AI technology is amazing breakthrough of computer science, but currently its application is still not that much. The final payments made by consumers toward AI is not as much as people are expecting. Basically speaking, many programmers are really paying a lot of money to the AI. But besides these people, the public majority is not yet paying too much for the AI-related products, especially the large language models that are using a lot of storage. So whether there will be a lot of payment in the long term is still being questioned by the market. The second is that the demand has been too massive and too quick in the past few months. That has pushed up the prices of these storage chips. But in the long term, when the supply of the industry started to pick up and the demand is not that rushing, the price of storage chips will also be coming back to a normal status. That means the related companies cannot make as much money as they are currently making. And this really explains why the stock prices have been so weak in the recent trading days.
Oh, great stuff. Thank you so much for your insights. That's Mr. Chen Jiahe from Novin Market Technologies. And there appears to be no end in sight for the ongoing memory chip crisis. Prices of DRAM and NAND continued to rise in the second quarter as the industry-wide shortage persisted. CEO of U.S. memory chip giant Micron, Sanjay Mehrotra, says that the firm's recent earnings reported that the memory chip crisis will last through 2027. The unprecedented demand facing the semiconductor industry has already prompted decisions to expand capacity by Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. The two companies have announced massive capital spending to build new chip plants in the Republic of Korea, aiming to double their domestic chip production within 5 years. SK Hynix chairman Choi Tae-won said that a forum in mid-July that AI chip demand is projected to rise by 60 to 100% in 2027, while demand for memory chip will grow 50 to 60%. He also warned that the gap between demand and supply will widen further in 2027 with no added supply in sight. Driven by a global shortage of memory chips, prices for consumer electronics, from gaming consoles to laptops, are on the rise. CXMT has emerged as a potential new alternative. But with prices expected to remain high for years to come, would that really make a difference? Our reporter Mark New has more.
Consumer electronics prices are on the rise.
Sony had to raise the PS5 by $100, which is huge. Even the Switch 2, Nintendo had to raise it by $50, which is, unheard of. GoPro said they might have to file bankruptcy, partly because of memory costs. Apple, of all folks, which does probably the best job of anybody managing supply chain, they had to start raising prices. The MacBook Neo, the cheapest one, was lauded for being $599. Now it's $699. If Apple can't hold the line, nobody can hold the line.
For the international market, there are three main corporations fabricating consumer product random access memory chips. Two in South Korea, Samsung and SK Hynix, and one in the U.S., Micron Technology. But due to the demand from AI data centers, the three production giants are now devoting a greater portion of their limited resources to produce high bandwidth memory chips instead.
So there's 80% margins on these AI chips versus the 10 to 20% margins on consumer-facing chips. A lot of data centers are repurposing their data centers to be AI-focused. I don't see much relief because the increase in usage just continues to grow.
And so now data centers are soaking up something like 70% of the world's memory, and everyone else is fighting over whatever's left for use in the consumer devices, right? The phones and the laptops that we rely on.
On July 6th, SK Hynix, which has more than 60% of the high bandwidth memory market, launched a U.S. share sale to raise $28 billion. But for standard consumer RAM chips, Chinese company CXMT has emerged as another option. So much so that Apple is now testing them in its devices sold in China.
Right now, everyone's starting to kind of look to China. A company called CXMT has gone from almost nothing to the world's fourth largest DRAM maker in about 2 years. Apple, they're arguably the most powerful buyer in consumer electronics. And they're essentially asking Washington for permission to buy memory from a CXMT, a Chinese company. What they're wanting is a guarantee that the U.S. government won't tighten the rules and effectively strand them mid-contract.
Without more chip options, analysts see little hope of prices falling anytime soon. In fact, Micron CEO even admitted that chip supplies will be constrained beyond 2027 due to the fact that it takes years to build fabrication plants.
Everybody talks about food inflation at restaurants, at the grocery stores and whatnot, but boom, when you're hit with this, even buying a new Apple laptop or just a memory card or a flash drive, it affects a whole new broad segment.
Fung says a big test will be the year-end holiday shopping season, when retailers and tech companies will need to get extra creative with pricing strategies to satisfy consumers while making ends meet. Mark New, CGTN, San Francisco.
Staying with corporate earnings, Boeing posted better than expected revenue in the second quarter, up roughly 8% from a year ago, and that's thanks to a rise in commercial airplane deliveries. However, the company still recorded a net loss of $428 million for the quarter. John Strickland, an independent aviation business strategist, shared with us his expectations for the company's performance in the long run and explains how supply chain disruptions are impacting production.
I think this was good news for Boeing today. The company, in my view, is certainly moving strongly back in the right direction after challenging several years, stemming right back to the two tragic Boeing 737 MAX crashes and the spotlight being absolutely justifiably on the company for safety breaches and poor performance. Now we're seeing the airline, or rather we're seeing the manufacturer run by a new CEO. He's been in place now a couple of years. I had the chance to meet him very briefly at the UK Farnborough Air Show last week. I think he's the right man for the job, coming from an engineering background. The company needed to get back to its origins. It was always a strongly engineering-led company. It had lost that with more emphasis on commercial considerations. He walks the talks. He's put his own office back to Seattle rather than Midwest or Washington, which is what had happened previously. And I think that reflects now in the company being able to move upward in production numbers, particularly on this workhorse 737 model, because it's been able to satisfy safety regulators. That is justified. It can support increased production to eat into what you described there as those substantial delayed production backlogs that it has, both for Boeing and indeed Airbus and right across the aerospace sector. A lot of skilled labor was lost through the pandemic. There's been shortage of supply of some key materials used in production, but workarounds are being found. As I mentioned, production rates are stepping up. Airlines are certainly frustrated at having to wait. I mean, out with the actual supply chain challenge, Boeing is still waiting to get certification of its Boeing 777X. Now, that's the newest long-haul, large-capacity airline, which should have been in service already 7 or 8 years ago. It now looks more optimistically like it will get certification this year and start to deliver to airlines, including Dubai's Emirates, next year. But I think under the new leadership, the focus is on making sure that there is no cutting corners on quality. There is a focus on safety culture, keeping customers happy, and that means delivering aircraft as on time as possible and to the safety standards that are expected from a company like Boeing.
And here's a rollout of more corporate earnings. Let's start with Corning. Shares of Corning tumbled over 12% on Tuesday after the company projected third-quarter revenue slightly below Wall Street expectations. If the losses hold, the optical fiber giant is on track to shed more than $23 billion in market value. Seagate Technology posted quarterly earnings of $5.71 per share, surging approximately 120% year-on-year and beating the market consensus. The results sent its shares up nearly 10% in after-hour tradings. Payments giant PayPal beat second-quarter revenue expectations with net sales of nearly $9 billion, representing 5% annual growth. And that indicates initial progress in the turnaround efforts under its new executive chief, and the results drove PayPal shares up in pre-market trading. And still to come here on Global Business. Wildfires and heat waves continue to sweep through Europe, exposing cooling gaps in homes, cities, and supply chains.
A vast land of 1.4 billion people. The world's second largest economy. Home to stories of the unexpected, the unimaginable, the breathtaking. Stories that touch the soul. Feel the speed, the passion. Enjoy spectacular natural and cultural landscapes. Feel the thrill of cutting-edge innovations. Discovering China. Global Biz. China Travel. We present to China never seen before. 24/7 at your fingertips.
Wine grape harvest in Italy is beginning earlier than expected in several producing regions as high temperatures speed up the wine's growing cycle. With temperatures expected to exceed 40 degrees Celsius this week, wine growers in the El Petro Pavis region began harvesting grapes for sparkling wine on Tuesday. Persistently high temperatures in recent months have accelerated ripening, bringing the harvest forward by about 10 days compared with last year and marking a record early start for the area. And according to Farmers Association in Kojechi, extreme weather is adding to winemakers' concerns over rising production costs linked to geopolitical tensions and declining exports, particularly to the United States following the introduction of tariffs.
Heat waves, excessive temperatures, and droughts certainly have an impact on the wine sector. The plants could even suffer from stress, but this is also why some wine growers are bringing forward the harvest precisely to safeguard the quality of the grapes.
In this heat, we tend to harvest very early in the morning so that we can start processing the grapes in the winery during the cooler hours. This is because bringing the grapes to the winery at a more favorable temperature, still below 20 degrees Celsius, also makes the following winemaking process easier.
And the European Commission says that fast-spreading fires in France and Spain have exceeded their capacity to respond, prompting calls for cross-border firefighting aid across member nations. Sarah Coates is in Bordeaux in southwest France. She spoke to residents and climate experts who warn that extreme heat fueling these fires is the new reality.
Fire races through pine forests west of Bordeaux as crews work around the clock to stop it spreading further. John has lived here all his life, and watching his region burn has been devastating.
First it was mostly sadness, seeing the region I've been born and raised into basically go up into flames. And I mean, we've known for a long time that you have fires. It happens almost every 2 years, something like that, but something that big.
For John, this disaster has hit very close to home. His brother and cousins are firefighters. He says some crews have worked for 2 days at a time without rest. Local farmers are also fighting back, using their own machinery to carve fire breaks through the forest. For John, the summers he's used to are gone.
When I was a kid, if you had a heat wave, it was 33 degrees, something like that, and everyone was like, oh, it's going to last a few days, don't stay too long in the sun. That's it. Now it's 40 plus, and it's every year now, so it's obvious that something is happening.
This region has always lived with fire, but what's changed is the heat it's putting out, the longer, hotter summers, and the flames that are becoming increasingly difficult to stop. Aurélien Sebton is a climate expert. He's warning that fires like this are the new reality.
We must collectively understand that the world has changed and that what we thought was the future is now our present. We will have to make complete systemic changes.
And these kinds of disasters are becoming part of everyday life.
What seemed exceptional is now, unfortunately, the normality of the future. The event we are experiencing at the moment is of exceptional strength, but it will no longer be exceptional because it will repeat itself over and over again. Fires, floods, droughts. The truth is that normal life is what we are experiencing here.
For the hundreds of thousands of people who've had to flee, this is already their reality. And while firefighters may eventually bring this situation under control, the danger is only getting worse.
Well, Germany has long been one of Europe's least air-conditioned countries, with less than 1 in 5 households owning an AC unit. And after another summer of record-breaking heat, that trend is now changing. Natalie Carney reports from Munich.
It's been hot. Park benches and playgrounds sit empty as people escape the peak of the heat. Even wildlife is seeking out shade. While air conditioning is common in countries like the US, Australia, and Japan, only about 18% of German households have it. But as the climate warms, that trend is changing.
We don't have an air conditioner at home, but the last heat wave was really pushing the limits.
I don't have air conditioning at home. I only have it at the office, and I wouldn't want to give it up there.
No, I don't have air conditioning, but it's getting warmer, so now I'm thinking about buying one.
And so are many others. AC installer Die Klimameisterei has never been busier, receiving up to 80 calls a day from homeowners and big businesses.
We've seen a massive surge in demand. It's becoming hard to manage the volume of inquiries.
Maximilian says it can take weeks just to get an appointment.
While air conditioning is still considered a luxury item, the volume of inquiries shows that people are willing to invest in their comfort, something that wasn't really the case in the past.
For decades, short, mild summers, high electricity costs, and a culture for open windows meant that air conditioning was often unnecessary.
But as extreme heat becomes more common, retailers are saying air conditioners are flying off the shelves as they become the fastest growing technology Germans are using to keep cool.
That's led many to international retailers, helping to ease supply concerns, such as Alibaba, who told CGTN Germany is the only market surveyed where retailers increased wholesale orders for both portable fans and air conditioners year on year, and stands out as the strongest all-around growth market. Chinese cooling products are helping meet that demand, with exports of portable air conditioners from China to Western Europe up 70% in the first 5 months of 2026, even before this summer's heat waves. Many are now calling for wider use of air conditioning, particularly in schools and hospitals, after recent record-breaking heat forced some medical facilities to evacuate.
Air conditions are not only a matter of comfort, but also a health protection topic. We have to think about elderly communities, nursing homes, hospitals, and all communities that need caring from very hot conditions. But we have to face also the fact that increasing numbers of air conditions will also increase the energy demand.
As air conditioners become more energy efficient and increasingly powered by renewable electricity, companies like Die Klimameisterei expect demand to keep growing. Natalie Carney for CGTN in Munich.
And with that, I'm wrapping up this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Lily Lu in Beijing. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more to come on CGTN.